Welcome to another episode of the Productivity Lovers Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Productivity Lovers Podcast, the podcast about how to become more productive in your work and home environment. The Productivity Lovers Podcast is brought to you by CRIS, a certified professional organizer, and Deb Lee, a digital productivity coach. Buckle up and enjoy the show.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Deb.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I am stressed. I am good and happy and still stressed and gosh, but still good. Good.
I think we should be in like complete transparency here. Deb and I had a whole hour and a half session before we even started this podcast today. I feel like I needed some Deb Lee therapy before we got on the road today.
Oh, goodness. It's been, I guess, a crazy time, right? A little tricky time for both of us. We both have some things happening. And, you know, some of it is, you know, part of life, right? So you got to roll with it at times, but other times it just feels a little, what was the word I used earlier? Off kilter.
Yes.
You feel a little off balance. Nothing, you know, is horrible, but it feels maybe uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I think, you know, and I think what I'm experiencing as I'm working with clients is like the pandemic is taking a toll.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah. I think it's finally taking a toll. And like, I feel like all of the things are, I took my car in because it was leaking fluid somewhere.
That's not good. Yeah.
No, it was like, so I took the car in and then they came back with a repair bill that was like a lot. And I was like, I should just trade my car in. And then the guy was like, we have 2 cars in the parking lot to be sold. And I was like, what?
Huh?
Yeah, that's all we have. 2 cars.
Just 2.
So I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to repair the car.
Keeping the car.
A week and a half later, of course, they found even more things that needed to get accomplished. And then I was thinking, I was like, well, you know, it makes sense, right? Because normally when you have a car, you do all kinds of like maintenance because you're driving around all the time.
That's
and
right.
like during the pandemic, we didn't really go anywhere. So the car didn't really get maintenance. So like there was a delayed maintenance that came to pay. And it made sense that it was what it was because the things needed to get done. So I'm feeling like that's what's happening in real life. That's my car metaphor. Like all of the delayed maintenances of life are just kind of like, you know, for the last couple of years are just kind of coming together in this great middle of the road that is not perfect. So
yeah, it's showing up. It's sort of rearing its ugly head.
Yeah.
But at least
like,
you still have a car. So that's good.
I do have a car and I picked it up and it drives like it's brand new. So I was like, well, you know, I was like, hi car, I missed you. I do talk to my things sometimes. I learned that from Marie Kondo. And then I was happy to see my car, but I was like, but I did think about a couple of things while like the whole car incident happened, right? Which I think it should be our topic of discussion today. And we may say one word that is not appropriate for children if you're not a person that swears. So if you're listening to this with children, maybe you want to wear some earbuds today. Because I may say the S word a few times.
A few times. It's been that sort of a week.
Yeah. So I think I was thinking like, you know, it's really hard asking for help when you feel like you should have your shit together all the time, isn't it?
Indeed. It is. I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Productive people feel like their lives needs to be in order at all times. Everything needs to be according to plan. And whenever things are not,
it feels off kilter.
We're not happy people.
We are not, especially when we are the go-getters, the problem solvers, because isn't that what we do for our clients? We walk into an unorganized home or office and we problem solve. We come up with a plan. Somebody calls for coaching to be more productive and time efficient, and we come up with a solution or a workflow or a set of technology tools to help them get better at that. And we problem solve. And when we can't get the problem solving going on our own end, it does feel a little uncomfortable. And that's probably putting it mildly.
Yeah, no, I think the first thought I have in all of this, like what comes up for me is like,
Mhm.
you know, and all of the gents that listen to this podcast, you may not relate to this, but
Yeah.
because women, we feel like we have to keep it all together all the time and be super productive and, and look pretty and do all of the things that we're supposed to do and show up for all of the friends and family and the people that need us. And sometimes that shit is a lot.
It's tricky. And also doing it with a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I realize that we're using a bit of a broad brush with, saying all women, but I can speak for myself. And I think you're speaking for yourself and perhaps those in your life as well, that, we do feel this responsibility to have it together, not just today, but all the time, to always be productive. I remember when I was an organizer, right? Going into homes, people would say, oh, your house must be completely spotless and no dust and always organized and in the right spot. Or even now, you must never be late to anything. Or you must be uber productive all the time, every day, every minute of the day. It's just perfect. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But it can bring up some feelings, I think, on those days when you're just not on your A game. And for type A mind like mine that wants everything just so, I mean, I'm the person that will notice when something is like half an inch off.
Yeah, me too.
I will notice, right? So when those days come up for me, it can feel really hard and overwhelming. And then I'm like, well, what would you tell your client, Deb? Right? If they're feeling overwhelmed. And then if that doesn't work, I'm trying to find other ways, right, to pull it together and have my shit together and to be the, dare I say, perfect mom, perfect spouse, perfect coach, perfect whatever those labels are. So I think sometimes some of those labels and those expectations are self-imposed. Sometimes you may feel it from someone else, but I think at least in my experience, I probably put a lot of pressure on myself. Do you think you do the same?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think the days when I expect myself to like have a perfect day and it doesn't work out, I almost feel a little subhuman. I am my worst critic, and I can lay it into myself about all of the ways that it went wrong and how bad I can be. And I think like the reason why this conversation comes up is because this morning I was working with a client and we had organized her office. And after we cleared up her desk of all of the stuff that was sitting on it, I said, would you like to wipe your desk down? Because I was like, I'm feeling like I need the crumbs to be gone. And I'm sure she was feeling like she needed the crumbs to be gone too. And I love this client. She's been my client for a long time. And paperwork is not her unique brilliance to the world, but she's a brilliant person. And then I started wiping it and I was like, oh, am I depriving you of joy? Of like wiping your own desk down. And she looked at me and she was like, no. You just asked me if you're depriving me of joy. She was like, you're here. Like, it's like, no, this is not my gig. So I was like, okay. So, I was like compensating for all of the things. And then in that same moment, I was also having to validate it for her, right? That it's like, it's okay that there are crumbs on your desk and that like sometimes life gets messy. It's okay that like we're not perfectly, neat and organized all of the time. Like my clients that have ADHD tend to be on the messy end because they're interested in all kinds of things, and organizing and being productive is not always at the top of their list.
Right.
And I, like, as I was having that conversation with her and wiping down her desk and getting lots of joy out of it, right?
You were getting the joy.
I was totally getting the joy. And we had the whole conversation about how I was getting joy and how I felt bad that I was taking her money for it. But it's like, there is so much, you know, like we put so much upon ourselves just to show up and be super productive and have, you know, have this long list of things to accomplish every day. One of my girlfriends always asks me, like, how many things are reasonable for one person to accomplish in one day? And I was like, that's a really hard question, you know, because I was like, it depends on what the tasks are. But I was like, every day I try to get 3 things accomplished. Right. And I was like, that has always been my rule of thumb. Like, if I feel like 3 things, but then it's the truth is that there's a lot more than 3 things, right? Because I get up and I go to work and I do my thing with clients every day. That doesn't count as the one thing.
No,
right.
That's
and
the
then
must do.
And then like sometimes I go to the grocery store or I do laundry, or like that doesn't count as the one of the things either. That to me
doesn't count.
Like, no, I mean, like that's just like what you have to do to what I consider to be human doesn't count. Right.
But it's like, a task.
I do the dishes and I don't make dinner. That's not my gig. But like, you know, I do grocery shopping. I do things. And then like my 3 tasks are actually like business oriented things. And mind you that some days I will see clients for a very long day. I will drive back and forth. I will go grocery shopping. I will do like things around the house. And then I'm like, oh my God, I still haven't done 3 things.
But you have.
I know, but it's the critical brain thinking like you haven't done enough today.
You may not have done what you set out to do, but you have done some important things. So there is a distinction. And I think just stepping off of that, you can also find a way to get even a part of one of your 3 things done, even with such a full day, so that you feel at least you moved the needle, so to speak, that you pushed it along somehow. But you really have done a lot. I mean, just listening to you, just those 3 things, I felt a little tired. That's a lot of stuff in one day.
Exhausted. So maybe we'll veer to the left. Like, how many tasks do you feel like is reasonable for a person to accomplish in one day?
I hate to say this, but it depends. It depends. But I like you. I like that number 3. I like having 3 things that are going to get my focus. I like to think of my day in 3 parts. The top of my day gets the most important one because that's when I'm most alert and that's when I have coffee. So that helps. The middle is probably not as important. It's important, but the day is now coming to a close as far as I'm concerned once the middle of the day comes along. So it doesn't require a brain intensive task. And then towards the end of the day, it's got to be super simple. Don't make me think too hard because I'm ready to shut down for the day. So I organize it in that way. All of that being said, if I only get one of those things done, I'm okay with that. I have 3 things on my list that I want to get to. And one of them is going to get my priority, all of my full coffee laden, energy bursting attention in the morning. And if I do that, I'm okay. So no cookie cutter here. This is finding what works best for you, your brain, your work style, your energy, and all of that. But I would start with 3
and see how that works.
And see how that works and sort of massage it. And maybe tomorrow I get to my 3 things. And then maybe the day after that, I only get to a part of one of my 3 things. And that's okay too. That's okay too.
Yeah, I spoke at the International Conference on ADHD a few years ago, and one of my session was about time management. And I distinctly remember talking about my 3 tasks every day, and then talking about, quotation marks for you that can't see us, the things that, that you're supposed to do because you're human, like grocery shopping, don't count. And I remember some lovely ladies sitting like at the very front of the very first desk. And she raised her hands and she was like, you have no idea how hard laundry is for me.
Oh,
She was like,
okay.
doing laundry, it might as well be like climbing Mount Everest every
Oh
week.
my.
And I was like, wow, like, thank you
Okay.
for like connecting the difficulty of this task to like a visual for me, because doing laundry is like fun for me.
Well, I wouldn't call it
I
fun,
like
but
putting it away, but I like doing the laundry part of it. So I did say to her, I was like, hey, you know what? If that's that difficult for you, then that needs to be your biggest task, like on that day.
yes.
So I do agree with you that like the task, the level of difficulty of the task and what the tasks are is very individual to every
Yes.
person. And some people, I have plenty of clients that would say like their three things for the day would be to just like get up, take a shower, do laundry, and like grocery shop, right? Because it's like it's a lot. It takes a lot of energy to, whether because they're physically challenged or because
Yep.
they're depressed, like whatever your challenge may be that keeps you not as productive as you would like to be, you have to go with it, right? But I do believe, so here's my kicker, right? I
Yes.
do believe that if you attempt to do 3 tasks a day, that eventually you'll feel much more productive, right? Because you aim to have this goal every single day to get those 3 things done. And
Mhm.
even if you may fail at a couple of them regularly, you're still getting one thing done every day. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I have some feelings about that. I think to a
Do
degree you're
share.
right. Well, I'm sharing those feelings. I think to a degree you're right. I think if you are trying to build a habit, you set up some parameters and you take specific action to help those habits stick, right? And if over time you're noticing that two of the habits or one of your habits is just sort of you're just not it's not attainable, it's within your reach or maybe it's not, you have to just start saying, okay, well, maybe how can I adjust this?
Mm,
So maybe Chris and Deb said start with 3, but I still don't have my shit together, it's not working. Okay, drop it down to 2,
yeah.
or maybe let's go down to 1 or part of 1. So would you attempt to organize your garage all in one day or all in 2 hours?
That is a great
Probably
point
not.
about like sometimes people will say things like, I'm going to organize my entire office in 4 hours. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, you're not.
No, you're not. I'm going to be productive after I speak to my coach immediately and forever. I will be perfectly awesome and use my time in the most effective way that did. And just,
No.
yeah,
Uh, 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 uh.
no, but that doesn't mean you can't strive for excellence, right? That doesn't mean you can't pull together
Mm,
a reasonable plan, right? With few components so that it's easy for you to keep up with and
yeah.
that you actively engage with on a regular basis. There's no point in having a plan if you're not going to use that plan. So it has to be a part of your daily routine. So as you go along, you really try to adjust and flex the plan to make sure that it is working for you or will work to the best that it can for you. So, yes, add your 3 things as I mentioned before, but really see how that works. Because if you're noticing that it's not working, then it's time to adjust again rather than beat yourself up and say, well, I really should have this together by now. Why don't I have it? Adjust the plan. The plan should suit you. So no, how do we say that? Square hole, round peg or something like that. You don't want to do that. You want to really make it
Round peg,
customized.
squared hole.
Okay, that. You want to make sure that it works for you. So we always, share some tried and true strategies and, tips and, maybe there's some apps out there that will help people, but not everything is going to work for everyone. So it is a bit of a dance that you're doing. But I think that the major part of all of this for me is not to feel badly about it. I think that's where it comes into play for me, at least, that, there are going to be days when it doesn't work and I don't want to feel badly about it. What I
Yeah.
want it to do is to motivate me to do better the next day. And better could mean a lot of things. Better could be managing my energy better. Better could mean scheduling that important task at a time when I really can focus on it, because maybe morning is really important, but I've now got a doctor's appointment. So do I really schedule the task then? could I work on just a small bit of it when I return? So to constantly flex and adjust based on what the day kind of serves up for you too. But don't beat yourself up.
Don't beat yourself up, people.
Yes.
So do you, lately I find myself just using this big ass sticky note.
Let me see the big ass sticky note. I'm looking.
Do I have any?
Oh, wow. That is
The
huge.
size of my head, for those of you that can't see it.
Maybe guys, you're gonna have to jump over to our YouTube channel to see this, but wow, and it's bright too.
It is bright pink. It's a big ass sticky note.
Where did you get that?
I would assume Amazon.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look for my own big ass sticky note now.
We'll put it in the show notes where you can get
Okay.
the big ass sticky note. But I find myself really delighted that I have enough space to write my text. And then I have side notes because, like sometimes you have to call people back, or you have you have left messages, or there's always a follow up to your task. Makes me delighted that I have plenty of space and that I always find my big pink sticky note because it's big.
Can't miss it.
Doesn't get lost anywhere.
So do you stick it to your desk? Or are you sticking it to the wall? Where does that go?
I'm just keeping it in the pad when I'm doing it. And then every day that I'm working on things, then I just peel it off and start a new one. And I'm like, where am I from yesterday? And here I go. Are
you keeping them till the end of the week? And then you look at them and you trash them, or do you just?
No, I'm like on a regular basis. So I will put my 3 things that I'm working on, and then and sometimes it's a little wasteful. I have to say, not the most environmentally friendly thing to do because it is a big piece of paper. But like sometimes I finish my 3 and I'm like, okay, I have time for 3 more. What is that going to be? And then I write it. Okay. Move on. Sometimes I have space. I just add on to the bottom. I also write down. We already talked about this before.
Yep.
I write down the things that I accomplished that were not on the list to begin with, that I was like, oh yeah, that was a big project. I should count that.
I also think we should count the other things that are the
sure.
other non-business related things or non-work related things, like, well, maybe not brushing your teeth, but going to the groceries, right? Doing grocery shopping. Absolutely. Taking the car to be fixed. Any of those R&D type things that need to get done, because sometimes those things take up residence in the back of the brain or towards the front on the left side, and it starts making your eyes twitch and you can't really focus on the thing that you need to focus on, right? So it's a lot of eye twitching. So let's include those as well, right? They may not be at the top of your list, but they're important too. And besides, you think about it, we don't walk into, you watch those cartoons where the cartoon character unzips himself and he steps out as this other cartoon character. That's not who we are when we go to work.
Unfortunately,
right?
I wish
we can't separate ourselves in that way. Right. So let's not, right? So include the personal stuff with the work stuff and look at your energy. So don't ignore those. I would add those to the done.
What I was thinking as you were talking about all of that is that we're officially giving Productivity Lovers listeners permission. And I think this is something we should do more often here, because I don't know about you, but I need permission. I am a person that grew up in a very tight environment where I'm a firstborn of 4 children. I follow the rules. I am a helpful human, which, in a sense, I turned my business into my obsession into my business. Is that how it goes? But I feel like I'm constantly giving people permission to just be, Yes. So I think I'm giving myself permission to add all of these. Is it still okay to say domestic-y tasks?
If you wish to categorize it as that, you can. Your chores, your home tasks, your errands,
tasks. That I like that.
Your domestic tasks. If you are someone who likes the word domestic, go for it.
I do not. That's why I was like, what are people calling it these days?
Your to-dos.
Seems like out of the 1960s. So but I like house chores. I like that.
Okay.
So
house chores.
I'm giving myself permission to add all of my house chores to my to-do list and count that as part of my 3. So if you're listening and you needed permission, just like the lovely lady in my class that was like, doing laundry is climbing Mount Everest. And if you have a house task that feels like climbing Mount Everest, then make that your first priority. So
Yes, I like that. I like that. I think give yourself permission to also not always have it together.
oh
That,
yeah, for
you know,
sure. Don't
best I
always
can.
have your shit together. It's okay.
It's all right because just like your big ass sticky note thing, you have
Mhm.
another page to get to. We have
Mhm.
another day to
We
get to. And
do.
so what are some changes, small little incremental things you can do the next day that can help you feel productive in the way that you want to feel? I think that's part of it. So yes, we got all those errands done, but we didn't do this work project thing that we really wanted to do. So okay, so how do we arrange the day, the coming day, so that we do a bit of it, a piece of it, all of it, half of it? Be reasonable, of course, but give yourself permission to not always be perfect. Yes, I am also speaking to myself on that, someone who is a recovering perfectionist. I
Mhm.
just want it to be all lined up nice and neatly, even in my mind's eye. When I say the phrase, get all my ducks in a row, I can picture all the ducks lined up very neatly. The noses are all pointing in the same direction. There isn't one that's off kilter a little bit. That's how my brain works. So to talk myself down a little bit and say it's okay. Not every day has to be an uber productive day. And you're going to have some days when, yeah, maybe there is no productivity,
Mm.
right? Life happens. Life happens. So go with it, but also have a plan of attack for the upcoming day, even if it's just one small action that you're going to take to make it just a little bit different than it was today.
Yeah.
So,
I have two things that was beautiful. Like that's what we needed in this podcast today. So
yes,
thank you, Deb.
yes.
I have two things I want to close with. One
Okay.
is it okay if I tell the story of
Yes.
your little room in Chicago?
Oh gosh.
Should we ask people to DM us so we can tell the story?
Okay, you can tell the story. It's all good.
So Deb Lee and I went to a conference, the NAPO conference, which is the
Yes.
National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals in Chicago.
Yes.
And we went to this beautiful center, and normally we're allowed to share rooms, and we do that for fun, right? So we can spend time with people. But this particular conference, they booked us into this place. It had tiny rooms. It had one
Yes.
single bed, a dresser in front of it. There was like no room to party or anything like that. We all had to be alone, which was horrendous because a lot of us are extroverts. So Deb so happened to have her room like 3 or 4 doors down from me. And we have always loved each other. So I found that she was down the hall from me. So one day during the conference, I knock on the door and I'm like, hey, Deb, what are you doing? And she opens the door and she invites me in. She's like doing her hair. She looks beautiful. We're about ready to go. We were going to the president's party, as a matter of fact.
I think
We were. Yeah. I was wearing my my sparkly dress.
You were wearing the sparkly dress.
I was ready to go. And so I was knocking on your door. So we walked together. And then so she invites me in. And then I was looking around and I was like, wow, this place is so neat. And people don't mean it just neat in a neat sort of way. All of her products had the label facing the right way. So when she says ducks in a row, she totally means that. All of her hair products had the label facing the right way. Everything was perfectly aligned. Everything was neat. There was nothing out of place. My room, not so much. So
yeah,
I am.
I am the type A plus. Maybe on that occasion there might have been type A plus plus, but I do like my labels facing out.
You do. Yeah. But you know what? I do that in my pantry too. So don't worry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Thank you for letting me tell that story. It was, I'm always reminded that like we can all improve on our systems.
Sure. And you know what? I think we all need to find the thing that makes our brain delighted and happy.
Yes. Brings joy wiping the desk. Remember?
Exactly. So if it's wiping off a desk, making sure the labels are lined up, go for it.
Go for
You
it.
know, as long as it's not spending gobs and gobs of time doing inbox zero, which
Yeah.
we've already talked about.
Good. And if you haven't heard that episode, you should go.
Yes, it's one of our very first ones. We have an F word.
It is actually the most
about-
downloaded podcast up today. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, you should go listen to it.
Yes,
We have
so-
an F word for inbox zero. That's what that's called.
Yes, so check that one out. Did you have something else you wanted to close?
I
with?
do. So we have like for a long time talked about like finishing the podcast with pet peeves.
Ah, you remembered. Yes.
I wrote a sticky note about it. So I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but I remember like several times I would just randomly pick up the phone and be like, Dad, this just happened to me. And that's my pet peeve. We kind of have fun like that in the meantime in between podcast recordings. So today when I was dropping off donations at the,
Was it
thrift
Goodwill?
place,
Yep.
there was some person in front of me. So I'm going to tell my pet peeve.
Okay, please tell it.
So the lady comes out of the car with a tiny bag that maybe has like
Okay.
one shirt in it.
Okay.
And then mind you, this is not another person. She takes her time walking all the way around the car. And then she's like, oh, I forgot.
Oh,
And then she walks all the way back and picks up another little bag. That's probably one shirt in it. And she walks back to the guy and then she gives it to him. And then she takes a receipt. And I was like, what do you need a receipt for like 2 shirts? So that was my pet peeve today. I was like, if you're going to donate 2 shirts to Goodwill, maybe you can skip the receipt. I don't know.
well, so you were sort of, your patience was sort of tested. It sounded
Well, I was
like.
running late to meet with you. So yeah, I was like,
There we go.
put the two-
There we go.
the-
Like,
the 2 shirts in the same bag, lady.
well, yeah, I think if she wants to put just one little thing in that bag, it's all good. I'm good with her.
You're
I
giving
think
permission, that's what you're doing.
I'm taking it for
Fine.
her. If
That's
she wants to donate one thing, it's all good.
The what?
She could move a little faster, but it's okay. She's doing a good thing. She's doing.
I
a
know.
good thing.
I was being like, you just took a minute of my life that I'm never going to gain back.
That also is true, but
That's a pet peeve.
all right. Well, thank you for sharing. I'll see what I come up with next time. I might have a pet peeve to share too.
All right. Next time is your turn.
It's gonna be my turn. All right.
All right, productivity lovers, we appreciate you hanging out with us for another episode. If you have any questions, if you have a pet peeve, if you are using some way that you're managing your lists, or if you just needed permission, you can DM us and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and please, go find us everywhere on social and subscribe to our YouTube channel and reach out to us everywhere at Productivity Lovers. And you can find us at productivitylovers.com as well. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Productivity Lovers podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe so that you get notified when we upload a new productivity podcast. For more tips and notes from the show, check us out at productivitylovers.com. Talk to you soon.